Hey guys, thanks for stopping by Pete's Garage. You know, I made a lot of videos about painting, about epoxies, mixing epoxies, spraying epoxies. I made videos about mixing paints, painting tips and tricks. I've made videos about buying paints, but I've never really made a video about fixing a spot on your panel or spot on your car, about the whole process, about identifying, getting your paint code, buying the paint, prepping the area, mixing the paint, spraying the paint, and once you're done, using a polishing wheel to make it perfect so it's a seamless, flawless repair. So that's what this video is going to be. Teach you how to go step by step on how to identify your paint, get it, spray it, shoot it, and finish the whole project so you can do it yourself. Now, what I have here is a 2013 Chevy Equinox. The rear bumper was hit by somebody. There was no damage to the bumper, so it doesn't need any repair. It's just that the paint was rubbed off down to the black. So you can see it's kind of like a blue mist car, blue silver, blue metallic, and it rubbed down to the black. I'll show you that in a second. And the person wanted it fixed. Took it to a collision shop. They wanted $500 to repair it. Now, it's a friend of mine. I told him I'd help out. You can fix it for a lot less than that, even if you want to do it yourself. So I'm going to show you how to do it. Start to finish, the whole job. Start to finish. So let's get started. Let's start with, I'll show you how to identify the paint code. Okay, now this is the area that needs to be repaired. I'm coming close. You can see this is the left rear bumper cover. And I'm coming really close. You can see here where the paint, the vehicle is kind of like sideswiped. And the paint is kind of like scratched off here. It was probably pushed in a little bit. There's a black spot here. And down here there's a rub mark where it really is kind of scratched to clear. Something like this I would polish out. I can get that out. But over here it's down to the black. So this has got to be fixed. This has got to be fixed. So that's the area I'm going to be fixing. This is general area right here. And that's the first step in identifying what you're going to be doing. Now when you do this, you could of course get a little paint and just touch this up. And it would look okay, but you'd really notice it. In order to do it correctly, you got to fix the entire panel, and you got to look for brake lines. So for this particular repair, even though this is just a small area here, you got to blend the paint. The paint has to be blended out away from the area so it blends into the rest of the vehicle. So I'll be painting along this entire, well, I'll be masking off this entire line around the light, down this sharp edge around here, and I'll show you how to do some fading with the clear in this area, and then masking all along the bottom here. So in order to fix this little spot right here, these little spots and this spot right here, I'm going to be addressing or working on the entire quarter panel, or the whole bumper cover on the lower left-hand corner. So the first thing I do, I go to my computer and I want to look up the paint code. So I go to Google, I type in 2013 Equinox paint code location, and I come up with this. Here's the first one. I'll go automotive paint, touch-up paints, and I'll just click on that. That's going to take me to a page that's going to show me where to look. And you can see here, it could be either on the rear trunklet inside, could be the rear tail light, and inside the vehicle, usually on the inside driver's door jamb or on the inside of the door. It could be inside on top, the passenger side rear door jamb, or in the glove box. I already looked at it. This is in the glove box. So let's go to the glove box. I'll show you where the paint code, what the sticker looks like, and how to identify a paint code. So I'm going to walk around here. I've already got the glove box open. Oh, no I don't. Lied to you. So if you look inside the glove box here, I'll put my light in here. You see the little sticker? That sticker right there identifies the paint code. Now if I zoom in, you see there on the bottom it says BCCC. That stands for, as it goes blurry, that stands for base coat clear coat. Okay, see if I I'll try and get this back in the, there we go. Base coat clear coat, and my paint code is U101V. So my paint code is in the glove box. It's a 101V, and now I will go to my friends at Auto Finishers and give them that information, and I'll get the correct paint for this vehicle. Alright, so I went to visit my friends at Auto Finishers, which used to be Elwell Auto Supply. I've been buying paint there from those guys for 30 years, and they always do an excellent job. I use all DuPont, Nason products, and I've never had a problem. And if you want to contact them guys, here's their website. So if you want to contact them, that's how you get them. They can tell you, answer any questions. Those guys are phenomenal. So whenever I get the paint, and you can buy a little bit, you don't have to buy this, even though this is a big can. I only bought 4 ounces because obviously I don't even need 4 ounces. I only need a little bit to touch that thing up. So what I like to do is before I even get started, I want to make sure the paint really matches. And when you buy the DuPont, the base for DuPont, the Chroma base, you need the VIN number, because the VIN number tells them what formula was used when the car was originally painted. The vehicle was originally painted at the factory. There was a specific formula. It's tied to the VIN. You got to have the VIN number when you go. You need the paint number or the paint code and the VIN. I just take a picture of it with my phone, walk in, say I need this paint. Here's the VIN. They type it in the computer. Computer tells them how to mix it. Okay. So what I do is when I get home, when I get back, I just mix it up real quick, and I just take a little bit on a brush. And I just come over here real quick, and I just do this. I just put a little bit on there. I'll blow on it to dry it, because it's going to take a couple coats because you're putting it over black. And I just put a little bit on there, just to make sure that it matches. And as you can see, it's pretty damn close, if not spot on. When those guys mix paint, they make sure it's perfect, and every time I get it, it's perfect. So I'm sure that's right. Now let's take a quick look at this can, and you can see the label here. It tells a lot about it. First of all, it tells me it's a General Motors color. You can see that. Here's the 101V. That's the code we took off the glove compartment. The color is silver topaz effect, means it's metallic. And it gives some other information. Even though it says 2014, it's for 2013 and 14. I'm using Chroma base. And just gives information about the company, Auto Finishers, Supply Rochester. They're in Rochester and Buffalo, New York. Gives information about the VOC rating. So that's what you can get off the can. I'll put that sticker right on there for you. And it will help you out just to I have tons of color in stock. And sometimes I end up fixing many different vehicles from the same company. Like I'll fix a lot of Chevy, like I'll fix a Chevy truck. It'll have the same color code, so I'll save this paint and I might use it again. It's good for a while. It'll last a while. So that's what you get when you get the paint. I did a quick test over there. I know that it's right. So let's get to work on prepping that area for painting. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be working in this area, and I want to make sure I don't damage the good part of the vehicle. So, to make sure I don't damage, I'm just going to mask off real quick. I'm going to come over with some masking tape. I'm going to put this in here to make sure that I don't damage the part of the vehicle that's good. So I'm just going to come in here real quick with some tape, and I'm just going to mask this off like that. And around the light, put some tape here. This is the part I don't want to get damaged as I'm prepping this for paint. So that way when I'm prepping this, I won't have to worry about scratching that part, okay? Let me finish masking off the rest and we'll start prepping. So now that I have that kind of protected, even though I'm only working in the corner here, I'm going to have to spray some clear on this area, and clear is not going to stick unless you rough up the surface. So I'm just going to take a Scotch-Brite pad and I'm going to slowly work the entire surface here until this is all dull. Now why this is important is because when you spray the clear on here and you try and mix it down or you try and blend it, it has to be to a dull surface. It's not going to blend into a shiny surface. So I'm just going to spend some time now going very slowly, and I'm just going to lightly hit this entire area with a Scotch-Brite pad. Okay, the entire area is now cleaned up with a Scotch-Brite pad to take the shiny off of the clear. Now I have to work on these two areas. It looks like it's shiny because I wiped it down with a prep ball. You want to have some sort of prepping material. I use Clean Strip Prep Ball because it takes all of the grease and oil off as you're cleaning, wiping it while you're sanding. It keeps it nice and clean. So that's pretty cheap. You can buy it in a small container, but I use it gallons at a time. So now what I'm going to do is, let me focus in on this area. Here, let me move the camera over here. And what I'm going to do is, I'll zoom in this for you. You can see the scratch itself. And you can feel it. So the thickness of the paint, you got 4 or 5 mils of paint there. There's a couple scratches down here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some sandpaper, and I'm going to use some 600 grit sandpaper with a block. and I'm going to use wet and dry, and I'm going to sand this down to feather this out. You want to feather it out, because if you just sanded this little spot, you'd see it. So you got to sand it around the big area and feather that area out so that it doesn't look like you sanded one little spot. So even though I'm only fixing this one little area, I'm going to sand out here to try and blend in the sanding so it's gradual, feather sand. So I'm going to start doing that. When I sand, I like to use slow circular motions, and I use just a water bottle with some water, soapy water. Just a little bit of soap in there just to carry away the particulate. And you just go very, very slow. You don't want to sand through the whole thing all at once. Now that I have the area blended, you can see I have the sanding is nice and blended all around here. I have it masked off a little bit more because I'm going to spray on a primer sealer right now, a surfacer sealer. Product I'm going to be using is a TranStar 2-in-1 primer sealer. It's a black. I should be using a gray, but I'm going to take care of that later because black is all I have on hand. You should be using a gray because it's such a light color of the color. You should use a lighter color here. But I'm going to take care of that later. So what I want to do is I'm just going to hit this lightly. And the reason I want to hit it lightly is because I want to put a little sealer right on the edge of the paint where it meets the plastic. So when I spray the product on that I'm spraying, you don't run the chance of the solvents in the paint melting any of the paint underneath it. So I'm going to take my primer here, and I'm going to hit it real quick. I don't want to build it up a lot, so I'm just going to, very lightly hit it, like that. Okay, and looks pretty good. So I'm gonna let that dry. Let it dry thoroughly. If it's warm, it'll dry quick. I'm gonna help it out with a hair dryer to get it dry quicker, but I'll show you what's gonna happen after we let that dry. Okay, now that this is thoroughly dry, I'm gonna go over the entire area with my water bottle and 1000 grit sandpaper. Very, very lightly, and I'm going to clean up all the way around. Clean it all up. Painting is all about preparation and is a very slow and deliberate process. So take your time. Very slow and very deliberate. Don't rush. The more you take your time, the more cautious you are, the better it's going to turn out. So take your time and be very slow and very deliberate. This will take me a little bit, so I'll come back when I'm done. Now, this area here is repaired. It's ready to paint. Now, if you notice, I took off all the masking stuff because I'm going to remask it off. Now I'm going to prep the area for paint. So the steps are, first you fix the area, do all that, take it all apart, clean it. Now I'm prepping for paint. So there's different steps. That's why I say it's very slow and very deliberate. I always take off all the masking tape after I wet sand, because the biggest enemies when you paint are water and silicone, fingerprints, any oil from your hands. So I always blow everything off very good with a clean air, blow it off, and wipe it down before I mask it off again, get ready for paint. Blowing out the seams, blowing all the areas where the panels come together. I'm always very deliberate about that, because if you're going along and you're spraying and you get air in there and any water comes out of there or leaks out on your paint, done, you got to start all over again. So I always spend a couple minutes blowing out all the seams around all the lights to make sure the entire area is completely dry. So now, before I mask this off to paint, you have to think about your painting strategy. What are you going to do with the clear? I already indicated I'm going to mask along this body line, so this will get all clear. I'm going to mask this black plastic bottom piece, so you won't see that. This whole panel will get clear. The question is, where are you going to stop the clear? where are you going to stop it? Because where you stop it, there's a transition there, and if you don't do it right, you'll see it. You won't be able to melt it together. So, I'm going to paint this, I'm going to put clear on this whole panel. After I put the color on, I put clear all the way around, and my strategy is to come around this corner. I don't want to paint this surface right here. I don't want to put any clear on here, so I'm going to mask that off. And all I want to do is leave this little area in the corner here to blend my clear. So this is where I'm going to blend my clear. I'll have color here, and I'll get my clear onto here, and this is where I'm going to blend it, right in this area right here. So I'm going to mask off the entire vehicle, and right before I paint, again, I'll show you where I'm going to blend the clear. Now, the vehicle is all masked off, ready to be painted. And for those of you who watch my videos, you know there's a reason for everything. So one of your questions is, why do I have two different colored tapes, masking tapes? Well, I use a very good, higher quality tape to go along the seams because it's expensive. If you price tape lately, you know it's really expensive. A good roll of tape is $7 a roll. And I use a cheaper tape just to do the paper. I also use newspaper, next to the paint instead of the plastic for a very good reason. When you're spraying and the air hits the paper doesn't move. When you're spraying next to plastic and you hit this with air, it moves, and if there's any paint or dust on there, it'll fall off and fall into your paint. So I always use paper next to the area I'm going to paint, okay? I also, see I have the whole vehicle covered with plastic because the clear is going to go everywhere. And if once it's in the air, if it settles on the vehicle anywhere, it's going to be sticky. And you're going to see it, it's going to be a mess. So take 5 minutes, throw a real thin sheet of plastic or whatever you got, blanket, something, just throw it over the vehicle just so it doesn't get any clear on it. Now, the painting strategy. First of all, I mentioned about this black. Now, it's going to be very difficult to put the blue color over the black. It would take a lot of coats just to even that off, and I could have used just a gray primer surfacer sealer. But the reason, if you recall, I said I'm going to take care of that later. I have a lot of gray base coat. I have a lot of white base coat. And instead of running to buy a new can of primer surfacer in gray, I'm just going to shoot this with a little bit of actually a white silver base coat, just to cover that up. Then I'll do the color over the whole thing. So my strategy will be, first, to put the base coat on to cover up the black to make it easier to paint the blue silver on. Then I will come in, I will blend in, gradually blend out from the center with the color. I'll let that dry, and I'll come back with the clear. So let's go talk about the materials, what materials you're going to need to paint with. So, you can also see the floor is wet. I always wet the floor to make sure that you don't kick up any dust, or I don't kick up any dust when I'm walking or spraying with the air. That just helps with dust control. That's all that's really for. So if we talk about materials for painting. So, I have a DeVilbiss spray gun with different tips, and I use different sizes. And this is a pretty good all-around gun. I use it for a lot of different things. But for the materials, this is what I got. I got my reducer. I use a Nason reducer. It's compatible with the DuPont product. It's actually made by DuPont, so it works pretty good. So I got my reducer. It's a mid-temp reducer. I have my paint. This is my color, and I also have this is the light white color base I'm going to put underneath the color just so it make it easier to blend. I got my clear. I got an overall multi-panel urethane clear. It's a two-part clear that you mix. Also, I got my strainers because all your paint strain mixing cups. Again, for my friends at Auto Finishers. And they'll give you mixing sticks. So whenever you go buy paint, make sure they give you a measuring cup so you can mix it and measure it properly in whatever ratio it's supposed to mix in, and get some strainers because you always strain everything you mix. And they'll also give you some mixing sticks. Tack cloth. You need a tack cloth. You always tack down your surface before you paint. Very, very important. A bunch of paper towels. I keep a roll of paper towels handy because it's messy when you're cleaning. You got to clean your gun. And this is the product I'm going to be using to blend the clear. It's a 5-star, number's 5913, 5-star extreme. It's called Blend Away Solvent. And what this does is it melts the overspray of the clear to blend in underneath with the clear underneath. And I'll show you how that's used. If you use it properly, you can get away with an invisible line, and you won't have to do any polishing whatsoever. But we might have to end up doing that. So those are the materials you need. Also, these surfaces, I got this solid surface. This is actually a piece of granite that I put on top of my tool cabinet that I use for mixing paints. I got this from a countertop shop. I just went to a countertop shop where they make granite countertops, and I asked them if I could look through their dumpster and just grab the piece of granite. They let me take it for nothing. And I also have this flat piece of granite that I use. Now, I've had some controversy talking about mixing paints. And when you go and get your paint mixed, the paint is mixed by a formula, and that formula is in weight. So they mix the paint by weight of material. So I have a scale here, and when I mix very small amounts of paint, it's very hard to see. When you're looking at a measuring cup, if you were to look at, grab this measuring cup. If you look at this measuring cup here, and I'm going to be mixing 1-to-1 here, and it's going to be almost below these lines. So it's almost impossible to use a measuring cup like this to measure weights and mix them appropriately for paint. So I use a scale. It's very, very easy to use a scale to mix paints when you're mixing very small amounts. That's why I use a scale. However, when I do use large amounts, I use the cup, and it's very easy because the lines are in the cup. And I even use, let's see up here, I even get my cups in size of very, very large, where I can mix half a gallon at a time. So I do use the graduated cups for mixing my paints. Those are the materials you're going to need. Again, lots and lots of paper towels. Okay, so I'll get ready. I'll mix up the paint. I'll put the camera down, and I'll show you how I'm going to lay down the color. First, a little base coat white, just to get rid of that black of the primer surfacer. Then I'll lay down some color. And the most important thing to really show you is putting down the clear and how to use this blending solvent to blend the clear to make it melt together so you don't have a seam. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up some of this white base. This is mixed 1-to-1 with the reducer. I might go a little bit thinner because I don't want to have as much overspray. I'll mix it 1-to-1 using my scale, and I'm going to be using my DeVilbiss. It's kind of a large airbrush size spray gun, just to put down a super light coat of this white, just to cover up that black, so it's easier to put the base color down. All right, the surface is completely tacked down with a tack rag, and I'm just going to come in here with this. I actually found some silver. I had some silver base coat, mix it with the white, and I'm just going to come in here with just enough to cover up this black. Now, I'm going to put my respirator on. You won't hear me, but I'm going to just cover this up very, very, very lightly. Okay, now I'll let that dry, and I'll come back with a tack cloth and clean up the overspray around it. Okay, now I'm going to put the color on, and well, before I do that, I've tack ragged the entire area to get it nice and clean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in the center. I'm going to lightly dust the white part of the vehicle, and then I'm going to work out and lightly dust. So you're kind of like dusting the color, okay? So that's how I'm going to start. Now, what you can notice is I don't want to paint wet all the way down to the edge on the outside. I don't want to paint wet all the way out because I'm trying to blend the color. If you paint wet and you get wet to the edge, what's going to end up happening is you'll see a dark line. You go on in the sunlight, you'll see the transition. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to dust it over this part right here and let it sort of blow out to the edges, a little bit wet. And that will sort of sit there, and I'm trying to keep the gun 90 degrees to the surface so that the metallics will lay flat. I'm using a different gun because I have an air control here, and that can control the air, and that control how the metallic lays down. So I'm working from the center and working out. And once I feel, I'm looking at it, okay? As I'm doing this, I'm looking. And I'm looking to see a transition. I want to see this color the same as that color. I want to see the colors matching. I'm used to painting in this light, but you want to have a lot of light when you're painting. I can see this a lot better than you can, I think. But you can see I'm just trying to dust it. I don't want to put a lot of paint on there, because when you put a lot of paint on, the metallic is going to lay differently. So I'm dusting it, very lightly dusting. I'm dusting it out to the edges so it blends. I'm dusting down to the bottom. I'm adjusting the air. Right now I'll just let you know I'm shooting at about 15, 18 pounds of pressure. And right like that, it looks like it's going to lay just right. I'll dust this a little bit more. Give it a little bit in there. Just to lay flat. Now I realize I'm painting without a respirator. Very dangerous. Don't ever do it. I'm just doing this so I can talk while I'm painting, okay? So I'm not going to be in here long. Minute, I hold my breath, and then I'm out of here. Now this is what I'm going to do with the clear. I'm going to put on a tack coat, let that tack up. Then I'm going to come back, I'm going to put on a wet coat of clear, and as I get here, I'm going to try and fade it out into there. After I fade it out, I'm going to take this can and I'm going to lightly spray. Far away, you might not even see it. And I'm going to spray this area with the fadeaway. And what that does is it takes the overspray and it melts it into the clear underneath. That's why I left that unmasked on that side. So this is what's going to melt the clear together. So I'll have a wet coat here. And when it gets here where it blends together, I'm going to spray and melt the overspray into the clear on the bottom. Okay, that's finished. Leave it alone, walk out of the booth, let it dry. So there's the finished paint, and you can see when you use the fadeaway melting, you see how it keeps the gloss nice and even across? And that helps. I will come back, we'll do a little bit of polishing here just to make it look a little bit nicer. But it melts the overspray so you don't have to do so much work at the end. And that is basically how you do a spot repair and how you paint and blend clear. I always tell people they don't pay me to work on their car. They don't pay me to clean their car or paint their car. They pay me to clean my spray gun because it takes longer to clean the spray gun than it does to do the work. And if you're not spending 15-20 minutes cleaning your spray gun, you're not doing a good enough job. So cleaning your spray gun, take care of your spray gun and take care of you. Well, there you have it, guys. I'm going to have to save color sanding and polishing for another video because the blending agent I sprayed on there, it blended the clear so perfect that I don't have to do any polishing. It came out just right. You can see that the gloss is just so nice all the way across. I don't have any reason to polish anything. It came out perfect the first time. So when you do a job like this, if you prep it, follow the process, follow the steps, make sure you keep it clean. I did this whole job, and I'll say start to finish, including drying time for the paint, in about 2 hours. So if someone's going to charge them $500 for the job, it was maybe $100 for materials and $400 for labor. I saved the guy a bunch of money. I did it for a lot less than that. So if you follow the process and you do something like this, it's not very difficult to fix small spots, small gouges in your paint, and small areas and make it come out perfect. Make it come out like it's just like a brand new vehicle. It's not very difficult to do. It does take some practice though. But this came out perfect. Like I said, I'll save the color sanding and polishing for another video because that really is an art. It takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of time and patience to color sand clear and then polish it to a glass-like finish, mirror finish. This came out perfect. I mean, if you look at this, the shine and the gloss of the original paint compared to what I shot right next to it here and where I blended it together, I can't ask for anything else. The guy is going to be ecstatic. I'm ecstatic. It came out so awesome. If you have any questions, please leave them. I'll answer them if I can. If you do this kind of work and you have any suggestions or tips that can help everybody, please share them with us because we're all here to learn and help each other. And if you need anything, you want to text me, send me a text. I can answer that a lot faster. It takes me a while to answer email, but I will get to eventually. Sometimes it takes a couple weeks because I don't sit down and answer email that much. But if you have any questions, text me and I'll answer you as fast as I can. And if you do have any questions about paint, DuPont paints, stop by and talk to my buddies or visit my buddies at Al Will Auto Finishers, autofinishers.com. They don't pay me. I'm not paid by them to endorse them or their products. So don't think that they're paying me to use their stuff. I've been using their stuff for 30 years. Like I said, even more than that, maybe, let's see. Yeah, it's over 30 years, 34 years I've been using their stuff. And I've never had a problem. And the reason I share it with you is because I think it works well. And what works well for me, I share it to hope that you use it and it works well for you. That's all I can do. Share something I think is good. Nobody pays me for anything. I'm doing this to help you understand, help you do a better job yourself. So if you have any questions, let me know. Call my buddies at Auto Finishers. They can help you. And take your time. You can do a job like this on a Saturday. I did it on like I said, a couple hours, even with making the video, 3 hours start to finish. So it's a job you can do yourself and have professional results, and it looked like it came out of a shop worth the $500 you would have paid to have it done. So I appreciate all your comments, all your suggestions, and thanks for stopping by Pete's Garage.